Hey guys, it's Wednesday, December 19th, and we're right from Chattanooga. First of all, I want to wish everybody a safe and happy holidays. For drivers that are over the road doing the hard work to move our products into our shelves and serve our communities, we love what you do and want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts from FreightWaves. Keep up the hard work. We know that it's not always the easiest job, but we recognize the work you're doing. Be safe out there. Today, on today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect going into the holidays, but most important, just be safe and enjoy the time that you get with your families. First up is Dean, and Dean knows a little bit about trucking. For those that are not familiar with Dean's background, Dean is not only a data scientist that really understands what data does, Dean has also been a professional truck driver and can empathize with the role and the responsibility that you have as professional truck drivers, particularly this time of year where the weather may not be cooperating to the level we hope, as well as just getting home with everything happening. So Dean, what do you see happening in the market?
This year is really different. This is the first year where we've had an ELD mandate and we've had really tight restrictions on drivers' flexibility to get home. Normally with paper logs, you could run your hours, finish off the log, and then just sort of run home under the cover of darkness. Now, because every minute of every day is recorded, it means that the ELD mandate will force some drivers to literally be out of service within maybe 30 miles of home. And for fleet managers, this is the worst week of the year for them because they've got so much pressure to get drivers home. And last week we were talking to fleets, they started to try and get drivers more regional and keep them within a 500 to 700 mile range of home so that this week they could actually pick those right loads to get them home. Now the challenge is that at some point they've got to pick loads that maybe have a lot of deadhead on the front end and deadhead on the back end. But come this weekend, what we're starting to see is that the hours of service here are starting to decrease. It's dropped off about 2%. Freight volumes have dropped off about 6% since the first week of December. So what will happen is hours of service is tightly correlated with market volume. And what we'll see next week is volumes will fall right away, and so will hours of service. Right.
So Dean, this green, you've got three colors in here.
Right.
You've got the orange, the green, and the red.
Right.
The green and the red represent the hours of service data, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So if we look right here, you can see these. What are these really weird up and down candles?
Yeah, so these are the daily and weekly cadence of hours of service. So driving hours are typically greatest on a Wednesday, lowest on a Monday. So drivers come out of home, they get to their delivery point on a Monday, and you see this cyclical nature. When freight volumes dropped off in October, so did the hours of service fall away as drivers had more dwell time because there was less volume in the market.
So when they drop, so we look here at 6.86 hours
Right.
per day.
Right.
What you're saying is, drivers get 11 hours,
Right.
but they're only putting 6.8 hours per day.
Right.
Why is that?
So this is kind of an average across short, medium, and long haul. And what you see on the long haul, it's up closer to 7.5.
Okay.
You see even higher hours out west where you've got higher average road speed. East of the Mississippi, the hours come down. Short haul, it's down around 5.5 to 6.
So they're not actually getting a full 11 hours. No. They're getting a less than 11 hours.
That's the challenge.
And this is also the weekend data, right?
Right.
You're actually looking at these red dots where it goes below 6.6. It's actually weekend days, right?
You've got Thanksgiving, Labor Day, 4th of July, Memorial Day. You can see the spikes drop right down as drivers have home time.
So as it looks at volume, this orange chart is all about volume.
Right.
We're seeing volume drop off because of seasonality. You can see it right here, starting really in December,
right.
Where volume dropped off. And you can see just how aggressive that has been. Right. Just in terms of freight transactions. Are you also seeing it show up in the hours of service data?
Yeah, absolutely. We're starting to see this fall right away. So I expect what will happen is average hours will start to come right down under 6.5. The average is for most fleets is about 6.8, but I think that'll come right down to almost nothing. We'll start to see these big dips next week, especially on Monday and Tuesday. Most fleets tell us about 10% of their trucks are rolling on Christmas Day, so we won't see a whole lot of hours being recorded as drivers have home time.
It's a really dramatic drop off in the hours of service data.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's a great time for fleets to be upgrading all their systems with OTA upgrades, checking all the 7-pin connections on trailers. As trucks and trailers are sitting around, there's obviously opportunity for cargo theft, but it's also an opportunity to do all the maintenance they need to be looking at.
And what do you, in terms of just getting home this time of year, is there anything that drivers should be cognizant of that's perhaps different in the end of December, moving into the holidays versus what you typically see?
This year it's all about the ELD mandate because you don't have the flexibility now. You have to actually pick the right load to get you home. And that's a challenge because drivers will be bidding for home time, and then also and the fleet managers are trying to match them with loads so they don't run out of hours and still make service at the same time for their customers. I'm not sure how it's going to pan out because this is the first time we've had to do this
Got it.
at an industry level.
Got it. Yeah, it will certainly be interesting to watch. And we had the soft mandate December 16th last year.
Right.
It's the first real hard mandate. And drivers have had 8 months to sort of figure out what's happening.
And large fleets have been doing this for years, but I think there's another 2 million trucks on ELDs now, and they pick up a lot of that flexible capacity in the market. I think this year will be really interesting to see how that pans out. I can see a lot of trailers just being dropped and trucks dead heading home on line 5, personal conveyance.
Got it.
That's what I'd be doing.
A lot of crazy stuff. Well, let's talk a little bit about weather. Weather's also a pretty significant, has a significant impact, particularly winter weather this time of year. Nick is our meteorologist. Nick, what are you seeing right now in the market that drivers should be cognizant about, fleet managers should be cognizant of as they plan out the routes for drivers?
Well, really the biggest storm, which is going to be across the south and up the eastern seaboard, is not going to be snow and ice, which is a little atypical, I would say, for this time of the year. It's mostly going to be rain, but it's still going to cause problems. But the good news is that it's not going to be a typical nor'easter with the snow and the ice. But later tonight, through the day tomorrow, and the other thing is the worst timing, because today and tomorrow, there are going to be a lot of trucks out there, last minute shipments of Christmas orders and all that kind of stuff going on. So right across the Gulf Coast states for tonight and tomorrow, including the Atlanta area, all the way down to South Florida and the Miami area, a lot of heavy rain, possibly some strong to severe thunderstorms, some strong winds here and there. So that's going to make driving a challenge as well. And from Thursday night through the day on Friday, that's all going to move up into the Northeast and New England, all the way up the eastern seaboard over the next 48 to 60 hours. It's going to be very wet. It's going to be very windy. And that's going to cause problems with a lot of these truckers out there trying to get these last minute shipments of Christmas gifts that people ordered out to where they're supposed to be on time before they get home to their families. So that's the big thing. There's not going to be any major winter storms, especially for that part of the country. It's mainly going to be the rain and the wind. So there might be some roadblocks here and there on secondary routes with some flooding, beach erosion, all that kind of stuff going on, especially up in New England. But for truckers, they're just going to run into times of really heavy downpours with low visibility where they're going to have to pull over, stop for a while, things like that. That could cause delays. Air travel for just people trying to get to their families, people just traveling for the holidays. So that's really the big weather story over the next couple of days before we hit the Christmas weekend.
You know, I look at this map and the head haul index is a real reflection of inbound versus outbound loads into a market. And what's interesting about it is this map looks completely different than any map that I've seen this year. And I think it's just because carriers are taking loads into markets much greater than loads are coming out. I mean, hardly anything is being shipped this time of year out of market. So everything is almost flipped to an inbound market. And you can actually see right here, Southern California now has flipped in the last week on the head haul index to a inbound market where drivers are shifting in. There's little freight in San Diego and LA. Look at the right in Indiana or Illinois, you're seeing activity. In the Ohio Valley, you're seeing activity of drivers inbound. That's just fleets moving drivers into the market so they can get home. And I think that's a reflection of it. It's going to be really interesting to see over the next week what happens. It's the first time we've ever had access to this data, and frankly, the market's ever had access to this data. So we're going to be able to watch it and see how things play out in the market. And stay tuned to FreightWaves Now. Every day, 4 p.m. Eastern, we will talk about what's happening in the freight market over the next 24 hours to 72. Be safe out there and have a wonderful holiday. Thank you.